Well, good morning, everyone, and it is a privilege to call this meeting of Huron County Council to order. I would like to welcome all members of council that are joining us this morning. Welcome also to all members of our senior management team that will provide us facts and information so that we can make the best decision for the corporation of Huron County and our 61,000 residents within it. Also, welcome to the media and all members of the public that are joining us this morning. I would like to indicate at the outset that council meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. Under my comments this morning, I would like to share first to welcome Sandra Weber as the acting CAO today. Welcome, Sandra. And we also want to express our sincere condolences on behalf of Huron County Council to Sandra in the recent passing of her mother. On the 16th, 17th, and 18th of October, I did attend the R2R conference that was held at Blyth. Extremely well attended. Different members of County Council had also attended, and municipal councillors on different days. Really well organized and great content to that. On the 17th of October, it was a pleasure to attend the South Huron Gala. Always well done, and presenting awards to our residents is always very, very valuable for their contribution to not only their community, the county, society in general. It was a pleasure to be involved in that. Megan and I also made comments at the early childhood education, brought greetings to that, and we all know the importance of early education for our youth and to show appreciation for those that have that skill set to provide that. I also attended the Great Lakes Cities Initiative that was held up at NII, and it is very important in our proximity to the Great Lakes. Past Warden Ginn is involved in that also, and Mayor Bazinet from the town of Goderich as far as the port is concerned, the preservation of our Great Lakes. It was also a pleasure to attend the District 8 Ag Society dinner and annual meeting that was held in Howick, and to be there along with Councillors Harding and Jay Heffer. Our volunteers do a tremendous amount to put on our various fairs throughout the county, and it is great to recognize them for that. The Western Ontario Wardens Caucus hosted an Ontario West Municipal Conference at Chatham a couple of weeks ago. Councillor Paul Heffer was in attendance of that. Extremely well attended, probably over 300 in attendance. Great exchange of ideas. There were different programs that were presented as far as homelessness, housing. Excuse me, Bruce Power had a presentation at that also. And it was great to see the united front that is so important in collaboration to move us all forward. Connectrix had a day at Bruce Power a week ago, and the opportunities for our youth are simply amazing. The jobs that are available in our area for them is something that we have not seen before. And it doesn't matter what their imagination can go to, there's a job for that within our area, and that is certainly great to see. Last Friday, I was invited to attend the Toronto Board of Trade Conference in Toronto. James Sconiac presented on that. Mayor Bazinet was also in attendance. Pretty sobering to hear that in the next 25 years, we're going to require 75% more power. There's going to be a tremendous demand for that, and nuclear will be a part of that, along with all other aspects, be it wind, solar, water. We're going to need them all to achieve the need. I also attended the Huron County Federation of Agriculture annual meeting last Friday in Clinton, and it was great to be there. Something else that I just wanted to share was at the recent Royal Winter Fair that is still going on. Last weekend was the beef show, dairy this weekend. The 4-H youth were involved, and there's a Go for the Gold competition that touches on so many different aspects of society, not only agriculture, beyond that, And of course, Huron County had a team in that and they won it. And so for the youth of Huron County, we should be very, very proud and congratulate them on their efforts. With that, the agenda has been circulated in advance, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Bazinet and Jay Heffer. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof with any agenda item that we have before us today? Past Warden again, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. I have a pecuniary interest in the consent agenda under the planning applications. And the nature of my interest is that I have an approved consent application in my name for the recreation of 2 original lots that are in my name in the consent agenda under delegated consents, and also under the zoning bylaw report, bylaw 201 -2024 of the municipality of Century Huron, rezoning of one of those lots from AG1 to AG3-10.
Thank you for that. Duly noted, clerk.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other pecuniary interest of any of the members of council? Seeing none, we have the minutes that have been circulated for the October 16th meeting, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of these. John Becker and Councillor P. Heffer. Are there any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We do not have any delegations, petitions, or presentations today, so I will go to councillor comments. If any members of council have any comments that they'd like to make at this time. So I'm going to go first to, because he had his hand up first, to past Warden McClellan and then Councillor Bazinet, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I just want to share that I had a conversation with Lisa Thompson last week. Gave her a call to talk about the policing costs, which every municipality across the province is dealing with, and did share with her that, you know, our understanding is that the UMP funding, the basis behind the UMP funding was to help cover policing costs in rural areas. It was a good conversation. She said she had heard complaints out there. I'm not sure if she'd actually received any phone calls. The very next day, she was going to be sitting in on some sort of finance committee meeting. She said she appreciated the information that I shared with her verbally, and she was going to bring that up, have a discussion. She did get back to me the day after, I think it was, that meeting, and asked for some financial records from us. So this was not a request for Huron East. This was a request for every municipality in the province. And as I explained, we may have benefited from the actions the province took, because if they hadn't taken the action, I certainly understood, we'd have been paying a little bit each year, but we wouldn't have been hit with a big number all at once. But I said, the problem is we didn't create the problem. And I said, now at the 11th hour, we're being hit with this number for our budget for next year. So my request is that if the province would adjust the UMP funding to cover the uptake that it has taken for 2025 and at least give us another year to try and get our ducks in a row to bring ourselves back in line. She thought that was a reasonable request. She has phoned back. She's asked for some of our financial information, so hopefully it's still going ahead forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Councillor Bazinet, please.
Yes, through you, Mr. Warden. Do things a little different here. Hopefully, I'm going to have Councillor Noel join me in with these comments that we have prepared, kind of in line with maybe what Councillor McClellan just mentioned, a little different regarding our court securities and prisoner transportation costs. So the town of Goderich is responsible for the cost of providing security for court premises during hours of court operations and security of persons attending court, and or the cost of transporting prisoners and custodial minors, examples, persons between 12 and 17 years of age, between correctional institutions, custodial facilities, and court locations for the purposes of court attendance. As the host municipality of the 4 court services operating out of the county courthouse, the town of Goderich and the Huron County Ontario Provincial Police must fulfill the legislative requirements to provide court security and prisoner transportation services and bear the corresponding financial burden. The funding shortfalls that result from CSPT place an inequitable financial burden on the town of Goderich ratepayers for what is undeniably a service utilized by the county-wide population. The court security and prisoner transportation funding gap is expected to grow as enhanced security mitigation strategies are implemented by the Huron County OPP as they bring on additional OPP court security resources at the Huron County Courthouse, a mixed-use facility that has an open public access policy. The town of Goderich staff has consulted with other lower tier court service municipalities in the province of Ontario who have funding agreements with their upper tier governments for the shortfall of CSPT costs. The town of Goderich anticipates a 2024 court security and prisoner transportation program shortfall of $142,182 due to the excessive financial strain on the town of Goderich to meet their mandated court security and prisoner transportation obligations under the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019. The town of Goderich therefore request County of Huron staff to bring a report back to our November 20th, 2024 meeting outlining cost recovery options to offset the town of Goderich's court security and prisoner transportation program shortfall, and that the funding be included in the 2025 County of Huron budget and annually thereafter. The cost of the court security and prisoner transportation is a permanent municipal activity that offers long-term community benefits and warrants an equitable financial burden applied more tolerably across the county. And one of the options we would like serious consideration is for the shortfall to be pulled from the POA revenue that the County of Huron receives. So if that option could be included in the report, that would be appreciated. And I will allow Councillor Noel to elaborate a little more.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Noel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. With respect to the shortfall being pulled from the POA revenue, I think that it's important to note that in addition to the principles of equity and fairness that Councillor Bazemnet mentioned, the legislative framework recently changed, and under the old Police Services Act of 1990, it was clear that court security costs fell to the town of Goderich via the Goderich Police Services Board. But the new Community Safety and Policing Act of 2019, which came into effect this year in April, the Huron County OPP now reports to the Huron County OPP Detachment Board that was established this year. It's comprised of 10 members with, I think, representation from 8 of the 9 lower tier municipalities. And Section 243 of the new act states that a police service board that has policing responsibility for an area has the following responsibilities with respect to premises where court proceedings are conducted. 1, ensuring the security of judges and other judicial officers and of persons taking part or attending proceedings. 2, during the hours when judges, other judicial officers and members of the public are normally present, ensuring the security of the premises. 3, ensuring the secure custody of persons in custody who are on or about the premises, including persons taken into custody at proceedings. And 4, determining appropriate levels of security for the purposes of paragraph 1, 2, and 3 in accordance with the regulations. So there may also be an obligation now on the county through the new board as well, and perhaps that's something that can be addressed in the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So to wind that up, would you make a motion for a staff report on this, Councillor
Yes, I'd
Bazemnet?
make a motion for a staff report, and hopefully we could have that for the November 20th County Council meeting, please.
Okay, and a seconder for this? Councillor Noel. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much. We're good with that, clerk? Any other comments from any other members of County Council? Seeing none, I thank you for that. We do have a consent agenda that encompasses 8.1 through 8.7. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull on this agenda? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder that items 8.1 through 8.7 be approved with the actions as noted. Councillor Harding and Alvin McClellan, all in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Under planning and development today, we do have a consent application of Matthew Prout, and I would like to invite Selena Selena McIntosh to present, I apologize, Selena, to Huron County Council on this application today. Please, Selena.
I sometimes forget about that name change too. So thank you, Warden McNeil. Good morning to Warden McNeil and members of County Council this morning. I'll just get this presentation up here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you regarding consent application C54-2024. The property subject to this consent application is 70635 McTaggart Line in the municipality of South Huron. The owner and applicant here is Matthew Prout. So here's a 2020 aerial photo of the property subject to this consent. It is a farm that's about 65 acres in size. Mr. Prout is seeking to sever the existing house and outbuildings from this farm. The property is designated agriculture in South Huron's official plan, and it is zoned AG1 or general agriculture in the South Huron zoning bylaw. So the proposed severed parcel is just outlined in red here. It does contain a residence, a cold storage building, a former pig barn that has been converted into a workshop, as well as a silo. It's about 3 acres in size. And then the retained farmland, which is outlined in yellow here, is about 62 acres in size. This is just a closer view for Council's information of that severed parcel. Council will note there is a north laneway outside of the severed parcel that is proposed to be left with the retained farmland, and that's just to ensure future access to the field there. Here's just a picture of the inside of that former pig barn to demonstrate that conversion to the workshop that was mentioned. And then this is an image of the severed parcel. We're just looking northwest here from McTaggart Line. So in terms of comments received as a result of circulation, no public comments received. Festival Hydro also had no comments. South Huron Municipal staff did review the application. They do have no concerns, but they did provide a number of items that they wish to be addressed if the application is approved through recommended conditions. Those are just listed on the screen here, and they're also in the staff report. So this application was reviewed against both the 2020 provincial policy statement as well as the 2024 provincial planning statement, given that this application was circulated during the transition between those two documents. Both documents do prohibit new residential lot creation within the prime agricultural area, with the exception being a residence that is surplus to a farming operation due to farm consolidation. The subject application does not follow under that criteria. The owner and applicant does not own another farm with a residence on it. So accordingly, what the applicant is seeking to achieve is prohibited under the PPS and not consistent with provincial planning direction. Similarly, the Huron County and South Huron official plans do both also prohibit new residential lot creation in the agricultural area, and those documents do contain criteria under which individuals may be able to qualify for a surplus severance. The basis of this criteria is that the residents can be considered surplus to the farming operation as a result of farm consolidation, which again is not the case here. And so accordingly, the application does not conform to the local official plans. The applicant did submit correspondence to council, and that was included in the council agenda, just outlining the reasons why he is seeking this severance. He notes that he does consider the house to be surplus to his family's farming operation that includes him and his parents' farms, and that his hope is for a family member to purchase the severed parcel and for him to subsequently build a residence for his own use on another farm that he owns. While the applicant's reasoning is noted, the farm in question is under his individual ownership, and therefore it does not meet that consolidation test. The owner was made aware of this and made aware of options to bring it into conformity. That would include building the house on the other farm that he has first, as well as potentially transferring ownership of this farm into a corporation that would qualify. The owner was made aware of these options, but chose to proceed as noted. So just to summarize here, this application does not conform with the 2024 PPS or the South Huron or Huron County official plans. It therefore is not in conformity with Section 5124 of the Planning Act. And as such, it is recommended that application C54-2024 be denied. Happy to answer any questions of council at this time.
Thank you very much for that presentation to us, Selena. As this is a public portion of the meeting where the public can make comments, if there's anyone virtually that would like to speak, please use the raised hand function and Clerk Cronin will bring you into the meeting. The order that this will be done is those that are in opposition Those that are in favor, the applicant will have an opportunity. Then I'll call on Mayor Finch on South Huron Council's decision on this, and then open it up to all members of County Council. So, Clerk Cronin, are you aware, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this application at this time?
No one has indicated they wish to speak in opposition of this application at this time.
And no one, members of the public here, would like to speak in opposition to it? Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this application at this time, either in the public or virtually?
There is no one that wishes to speak in favor of this application at this time.
Thank you. Would the applicant care to make any comments to Huron County Council at this time?
Mr. Kraut, I'm going to be sending you a request to come in. Mr. Prout, I'm sending you a request to come into the meeting. If you would just accept it, and then you could come in and then speak. I'm gonna try a different way. Okay, there he is.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Prout, and please proceed with your comments if you would, sir.
Mr. Prout, will you be able to speak at this time?
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Mr. Prout, you will be able to speak if you'd like.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Welcome.
Great. Sorry, it kicked me out there when I was asked to join into the meeting. My apologies. Good morning, everyone. Just want to give a little bit of context, add on to what Selena was mentioning previous. Our goal with this is to take the 65-acre farm property with the house and the outbuildings and remove it from the farm. And the main reason why we want to do that is so that my oldest brother, Adam, who currently lives in Mississauga, is able to move back into the area with his family. The farmland itself is in the perfect location, I guess, right next to my brother and across the road from my parents. And beside them is our family farm where the kids like to spend most of their time nowadays. So I think it's a real benefit for the community to bring young professionals back into the rural areas to help populate our declining enrollment. Like Selena was mentioning previous, that farm, along with another farm I own, and my parents' properties and my brother's properties, they're all farmed through Prout Farm. So if you look at it through the lens of our farming operation, it is certainly a surplus property. It is also a surplus residential property for me because I live in town and really have no need for it, especially when I have a sibling or a brother that would like to move back to the area. Excuse me. We did look at some other options, like Selena mentioned. However, transferring the farm to a father through consultation with our accountant. He suggested that there could be some substantial tax implications with that as well. Another option we did investigate is potentially building on another farmland. The unfortunate part is that farmland is a few miles away from home. And the idea of taking serviceable farmland out of service to build a residential property right now just doesn't make sense for us when we have a location that works for both our farm and our family. This request doesn't necessarily change the layout or the fabric of the property. We're not removing anything from service. It works good for both our family and our farm. I think there's just a lot of benefits to our community and our family to allow us to have. And so I'd like to respectfully ask that you consider approving this severance for our family and our community. Thank you. I'll be here if there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Matthew, for your comments to council this morning. I'm going to now call on Councillor Finch for comments from your council. Please, Councillor Finch.
Yeah, thank you. Through the warden, South Huron voted in favor of Mr. Prout's application. It does not change the fabric at all of that location at all. It actually benefits what he's describing by bringing a family member back with their family. So I totally concur with the reasons given, and I'll ask county council to support this applicant as it is a common sense decision.
Okay, I will now open it up to all members of County Council. The recommendation from our planners is for denial, and I will go first to Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. There's the applicant gave what they justify as a good reason. And I think for most situations that come across, somebody can always justify, but this doesn't fit any of the criteria that it's supposed to pass. Like either we have a set of rules that we're supposed to be following or we don't, and we just need to figure out which way we're going to go. Because if every time one comes to us, we just decide, well, let's come up with a reason and go against the rule book, which we've done a lot, it seems, in the past. Why bother having the rule book at all? It was there for a reason.
Thank you for that. Additional comments? I'm going to go to Councillor Klopp and then back to Councillor Finch. Thank you.
Thank you. I maybe have a couple questions or comments, if I may. Minimum distance separation is always an issue, I think, that we, in agriculture, that's the biggest thing, I think, for any time there's houses separated or a new property. Is the MDS in its present form, if it's left the way it is and a neighbor wants to build a barn with animals in it, are they subject to MDS?
Thanks for the question. Selena, please.
Through the warden, yes. If a neighboring property wished to put up a livestock facility, MDS would be measured from this existing residence. Correct.
Thank you. Follow
Thank you.
up, Councillor Klopp.
Thank you for allowing me. So then this being severed and we're calling it a new property, and I guess the technical term is new, but it's anybody can see by the picture, it's been there a while. It's not going to affect that. With regards to the argument, and it is a fair comment, I have to do this every time I look at these. But the province under our old system allows council to take a look at and make a decision based on what I think I do, and I think everybody else does, your economics of the area, your the social aspects, and just maybe the common sense. And we have turned down severances. We've allowed severances. There's a process. If the province thinks we're out of line, they can come and take us to a hearing. Obviously, if there's a neighbor arguing, we listen to that. And if council still moves ahead with it, of course, they carry on too. And we've had some win and lost, I guess, at that. But that's the democratic process. The new program that was referred to 2024. My question is, has the province taken out the right in the new plan that lower tier councils have the right to look at it at the local level and make a decision?
Thanks for the question. Selena, please.
Through the warden, it's actually the Planning Act that provides delegated authority to county council to make decisions on these consents. So the 2024 PPS does not change the legislation under the Planning Act for county council's authority at this time.
Thank you, because the new one, I know we're talking about it, and I think I heard a couple meetings ago that we're going to all get immersed on the new plan, and clearly the new plan echoes the old plan, but I thought maybe they took it out, since the fact that they haven't took it out. When I look at the arguments here, it looks like a severed lot, a person to build a lot. That doesn't make common sense. It fits the criteria, I think, where I understand where our local council made the right decision based on social economics and a few other things. So if there's a motion made to allow this, I think on my consistency is that this is the right move. The province wants to challenge that. You know, we'll cross that bridge. The owner will cross that bridge. But my sense is the last while they thought we've been doing the right decisions for or against. And I'll want to be fairly consistent. If my lower tier councilors feel that this is the right thing, then I have to support it. And I think the arguments that the gentleman has put forward, especially that one where the alternatives of severances, I think they've done a fair job of not trying to screw up the system. And at the end of it all, MDS is still going to affect this property, and I see there's properties all around it. So as from a personal farmer's perspective on this, for the neighbors down there, I think this one makes sense to allow.
Thank you for that. Councillor Finch and then Noel, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the warden, and to Councillor McClellan's comment, there's the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the law. The house already exists and it's not going to impact the MDS in the future at all. It's not a vacant lot. We're not creating a new house. Well, the house already exists, as I said. This is not an unrealistic deviation from what the policy is, as it's been done by us in the past before. So to me, it's a very straightforward decision. South Huron Council supported it. We're the ones who would live with that, and we were not opposed to it at all. So I'd ask that County Council support it also.
Thank you for that. Councillor Noel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I actually have a question for our planner, if I could, please. In the correspondence from the applicant, there's a statement that there is an intention to build a new residence on a neighboring farm property, which would support ongoing farming activities and align with the criteria for a surplus farm residence. So I just want to understand that ultimately what we have here is what I would call sort of an order of operations problem, and that if this was done in a different order, we could still achieve the same end result and follow all the rules. Is that an accurate statement?
Thank you for the question. Selena, please.
Through the warden, I would concur with you, Councillor Noel. The applicant does have another farm that does not contain a residence. Should he wish to construct a residence on that farm, subsequently this residence subject to this application could be considered surplus and therefore meet both provincial and local policies when it comes to consents.
Okay, thank you for that. Past warden again. Next.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. My thoughts are along the same lines as Councillor Noel. It's the end result that I always look at. So I'll go a different route. The farm could incorporate, and then it would become surplus residence. And the end result is that severance is going to happen anyways. The only difference is we're going to cost this family a whole bunch of money. And I just have to ask myself, is that our purpose here? You know, our purpose is to look at the end result. Our purpose is not to cost people a whole bunch of money to get the same result. So those are my comments.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Klopp and then to Past Warden McClellan next, please.
I guess I maybe need clarification from the applicant. When I read the line, it says we could have an option that Adam would build a new home on land currently used for farming, which would be bare land with a house, which would unnecessarily take not only land out of service, but I would see now we have two properties. One is already there. For most of us, it's not really not farming that section, but that would actually take out. But can you confirm that that's where I'm understanding when you brought up about the new house?
Okay, thank you. Matthew, please.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. We have a farm that's about 2 or 3 miles away that he could build on, but it just doesn't meet the need of our family or our farm. If we have a location and like you mentioned, a house that is in need of repair and investment, there. We would much rather just keep that farmland in service. They're not making any more of it. It's a valuable commodity. We want to respect the fact that that we just don't want to frivolously take farmland out of service to build a house when we have a property there that meets all of our needs as a family and as a farm. So for us, it was just a logical sense is to go through this application, as difficult as it can be sometimes, but it just made sense for all of us to build on the property that already exists and is already set up and not take farmland out of service.
Thank you for that response. Past Warden McClellan and then Councillor Vanstone, please. Passed. Thank you for that. Councillor Vanstone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. AG1, we have it out in our township as well. A lot of it, everybody here is a farm community, but it's a blanket thing. And the provincial government doesn't send anybody to see where AG1 stops and starts or anything else. And there's a whole lot of areas that I think we should look at as a council. And as somebody echoed before, the local municipality looked at this. They thought it was a good idea. So they should have, almost like the Army says, boots on the ground. They know what's happening. And I think we should support them. Why make 2 residents when we can have 1 and solve all the problems? So, and as far as this county, I think we should look at and maybe send a letter to the province and say, look, we've got a lot of AG1 land that isn't AG1 land, but it's designated that way. So anyways, that's my feelings and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Finch, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the warden, thank you for your indulgence. And I agree with Councillor Vanstone. It's a common sense approach. Obviously, Mr. Prout's made it very clear, if we can't sever this lot, then we got to build on another lot that's going to take farmland out of production. I don't think that's our goal. Our goal is to use the farmland we have, continue to use it, and the houses that are there, continue to use them. That land was taken out of production years ago. That house is an older house. It would not going to change the fabric of the municipality. South Huron endorsed it without question. So as I say, I'm just asking for support from county to support Mr. Prout on this application.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Councillor Noel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I guess I just have a follow-up question based on the conversation around the table, because my comment was not under the understanding that we would have to have 2 new builds. My comment was that if the build referenced by the applicant took place first, then you still achieve the same result with 1 build and follow all the rules. It wouldn't require 2 builds and taking away existing farmland. Am I correct or incorrect in that understanding? Thank you.
I will defer to our staff and to Selena for a response, please.
Through the warden, provided we're on the same page, Councillor Noel, you are correct. It is, the applicant would require 1 farm with 1 residence to deem this residence surplus under the policies. So 1 build, whether that's intended in the future or not.
A follow-up, please.
Thank you for our planner, through you, Mr. Warden. And that is the plan, ultimately, is to have that build completed. But in this case, the way that the application has come forward, that it would be completed after the severance rather than before.
For clarification, staff, please.
Through the warden, that is my understanding, but I would defer to the applicant if that is the intention there. Thank you.
Matthew, would you care to share your response to Councillor Noel's question, please?
Yeah, sure. So on the separate 50-acre farm, at some point, my wife and I, we live in town. I would eventually like to move out to the farm and build a house out there. That is our end goal. Whether that happens 2 years from now or 5 years from now, that will eventually happen, which is why we went through this process. That's not a day written in stone. The other aspect is we would like to have, for my brother, obviously, would like to get back to the area sooner than later. So if we have to wait 5 years for me to build a house, his kids are now, past the point that they want to run around with dad at the farm. So for our family perspective, we would prefer if this would happen sooner than waiting for myself and my wife and my family to move out there. That's kind of a long-term plan. So eventually down the road, it could be done no matter what. It's just a matter of getting it done sooner so my brother and his family can enjoy the time back in Huron County.
Thank you for that. Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm a little concerned about what seems to be conflicting information. When the applicant gave their original opening statement, they said that their intent was not to build on the new farm. And then the whole argument after the fact about why would we take up good farmland to build a house? And now, because of the way the questions have come about, it's going to be, well, yeah, we are still going to do that anyways. We're going to use up that farmland to build a house down the road. It might be a couple of years down the road. I need to keep the story straight. What is the intent here? Are we going to use up the extra farmland? If we are, then why are we doing one ahead of the other? I agree with Councillor Newell. We have certainly looked at it in the past where if someone could have gone through certain steps, they could have achieved the exact same thing. I have absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't want to tie anybody down, but I don't want to force people to spend a whole bunch of money they don't need to spend. But I do want a straight story. And if the intent is to do something, please let us know what that intent is, because that's what we hang our hat on at the end of the day.
Thank you for that. The applicant care to make a response to that, please?
Yes, just to clarify. So where my brother would build would not be on one of my farms. And the farm that I would eventually like to build on is it's a retired gravel pit. So there's parcels of land that have been rehabilitated. So technically speaking, I wouldn't be taking farmland out of service. But to your point, I do agree. But it won't be serviceable farmland that I'll be using. It's a farm that we have dug the gravel out. They've repurposed that land, and it'll be on those properties that I would be building my house on. Just to clarify to your point.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. And I could appreciate the comments, and I'm glad you were here to explain that. I know now where you're talking about where you may build. This goes back to the original argument was, so I have my brother build on bare land, and then we're going to have two properties out in the country, or we sever this now, which is already there, and that other piece stays farmland. I'm glad we got this clarified a bit, but I think I'm still comfortable now, more comfortable that I think the right choice is what the South Huron made. If it's okay, I will make the motion for discussion that we approve the municipality of South Huron with their what's the right word? Their whatever.
Could I just make a suggestion to you? I think I understand your sentiment. And would it be your sentiment that the council of the county of Huron approves consent application by Matthew Prout with the conditions as presented? Yes. Do we have a seconder for that as Councillor Finch? Further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Yeah, some vote twice. Selena, do you have any comments to us on the effect of public and agency comments on this decision, please?
Yes, thank you. So my recommendations would be 2A, that no public comments were received on the application, so there was no effect on this decision. And 5B, comments were received from the planning department regarding the issue of conformity to applicable legislation. Comments were thoroughly considered by council, but did not influence the decision of council to approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you. So the recommendation is the effect of public and agency comments in this decision be 2A and 5B, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for that. Councillors Dietrich and Harding, all in favor of this motion. And that again is carried. Thank you very much. And thanks very much, Selena, and to the applicant for joining us this morning. Under Cultural Services, we'd like to welcome Beth Rumble to present to us on the Museum and Cultural 2025 action plans. Please, Beth.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. So these actions are brought forward to you to share how we will operationalize the strategic plans that were recently approved for both museum and culture. These are presented for information. All budget numbers in here will come forward as part of the regular budget process. Some of the projects for 2025 that are included in the action plans are projects such as completing the museum mural lobby, an Indigenous understanding handout, gallery remedial work, a redevelopment plan for our exhibits, celebration of the jail's 50th anniversary as a heritage site, and steps to address storage issues. And cultural projects include items such as the continuation of key festivals, such as the Multicultural Festival, a literary festival, Jane's Walks, and the Main Street Arts Fest, as well as arts workshops, programming for historically underrepresented communities, and the continuation of sector networking events such as the Heritage Roundtables and the Cultural Summit. Happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you very much for that. Do any members of council have any questions or comments of Beth on this? And if I see none, I'll entertain a mover and a seconder that we accept the report by Beth Rumble titled The Cultural Services from our Director of Cultural Services and County Librarian, dated today, titled Museum and Culture 2025 Action Plans as presented for information. Councillor Bazinet and Becker, all in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much, Beth. And Beth is also here to respond to any questions on item 2, which is the Huron County Museum Collections deaccession report. Do we have any questions for Beth on this? And again, if we see none, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive the report titled Huron County Museum Collections deaccession report, and that the recommendation that item M 950.2205.001 be deaccessioned from the Huron County Museum collection. Councillor Vanstone, past warden again. All in favor of this motion? And that again is carried, and thank you very much, Beth. We have a number of items of correspondence, nothing under administration today. Items under correspondence, is there anything that anyone would like to pull and or support? And if I see none, I will entertain a mover and a seconder to accept the correspondence not specifically dealt with. Past warden Ginn and Councillor Anderson, all in favor of the motion. And that is carried. If there is any new or unfinished business, I would suggest and encourage anyone to contact our CAO in advance so that it could be placed on a future agenda. Item 13.1 is the walk-in freezer replacement. Dana Meller is here to present to us on this morning. Welcome, Dana.
Thank you, Warden McNeil. So I just wanted to do a brief report on the walk-in fridge and freezer at Huron-Lee, Home for the Aged. It is the original walk-in fridge and freezer from when the building was built. So it is about 31 years old. It is a built-in unit. The lifespan of these units are normally about 15 to 20 years. So we are well past the life expectancy. So we put out the request for quote for a replacement of this item, as we have seen some repairs needing done to this unit in the past few years. The specifics for the requirements for the quote were things like the complete removal of that current unit, the disposal of the unit, as well as any scrap that may have incurred from removal, the installation of the new unit, the replacement of the refrigeration components of the new unit. We asked for the specs to be included as well for that unit, that it needs to be clearly fully functioning, that the installer come to the site prior to submitting the quote. There is some requirements for the space to be looked at, making sure there's proper airflow, to make sure no mold from or anything from condensation happens. We also had asked that there be a alternate fridge freezer unit provided for the homes while the installation was happening. The unit specs needed to include, or we needed a warranty of 10 years on the panel for the unit. The panel is it's the operational hub of the unit. So that's where you see most of your repairs needing done, the expensive repairs, and it keeps the unit efficient. So in the R rating. So when we received the quotes, the two lower bids, they either didn't provide the WSIB paperwork, which is also a requirement, pardon me, for a quote. All the documents need to be provided at the time of the quote. So they were either not provided, as well as specs weren't provided. And one of the vendors did not attend the site. It's important to ensure that the quote is proper and the scope of the work is reflected in the quote to come on site. We have all experienced where, you know, a quote isn't quite accurate, and then we're looking at extra funding to support that. The next two quotes, there was a lower one from the same company. The unit did not have the warranty. It had a 5-year warranty on the panel, whereas the higher bid or the higher unit had a 15-year warranty instead of the 10-year that we did require. So it was over and above. It also had an 18-month extended parts and service warranty, warranty on the unit. And it was the bid that we would prefer, or that we chose, we recommended, is a more reputable unit. It's well known. And then, of course, there was one more bid, and it was a higher bid as well, and it didn't include the 10-year warranty on the panel. We also wanted to ensure that the unit was serviceable, that the company was able to service the unit. It is important that they are able to come fairly quickly should a unit break down or need some repair, as this is a large amount of product being stored in this unit, and temperature is extremely important. So to be out of spec for a period of time, we need to have a fairly efficient response time to any requests. So we have worked with the vendor before, and do know that their service is reputable. So that is kind of the overall, and I will take any questions. Doug is also here to provide any answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dana, for explaining the rationale for the recommendation that you have done, and Doug for joining us. Past Warden McClellan will have the first question or comment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I do appreciate the extra explanation and agree with the rationale of the staff, and I'd like to make a motion that we accept the tender.
Okay, thank you very much. Moved by Past Warden McClellan, seconded by Councillor P. Heffer, that the Council of the County of Huron receives a report by Dana Miller and Doug Jekic for the walk-in freezer replacement project 2024 in the amount of $71,550 plus HST, and further that CAO work be authorized to execute the required documentation for the purchase of this freezer. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? And that is carried, and thank you very much, Dana, for that. Notice of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion for a future meeting? And if not, we do have some bylaws that are in print, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder that we give the bylaws first, second, third, and final reading that are printed. Moved by Alvin McClellan, seconded by Councillor J. Heffer. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. I would like to remind everyone, now we do not have a closed session today. Remind everyone of the upcoming meetings: the Economic Development tomorrow at 9 a.m., a hybrid meeting. Library Board a week from today. Accessibility on the 18th of November. Council Day 2, the 20th. And note the inaugural session on the 27th is at 1 p.m. Okay, inaugural session at 1 p.m. on the 27th of November, and Council Day 1 in December is on the 4th. With that, we do have the confirmatory bylaw, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for that. P. Heffer and Councillor Anderson, that the Corporation of the County of Huron be introduced, give first, second, and third reading, be passed, signed by the warden of the clerk, seal of the corporation affixed thereto with part 14 of the procedural bylaw for the county. All in favor of this motion? And that again is carried. Thank you very much to all members of County Council for your thoughtful input this morning and all members of our staff. And I would welcome a motion to adjourn our council meeting. Jay Dietrich, Jay Heffer, that the Council of the Corporation of the County of Huron do now hereby adjourn at 9:56 a.m. to meet again on the 20th of November, 9 a.m. or at the call of the warden and the clerk. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thanks all.